You have been living with a stranger your entire life, feeding it, listening to it, obeying it. And nobody ever told you that you didn't have to. That stranger is the voice inside your head. And once you understand what it actually is, you will never be the same. This is The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And this book might be the most important thing you ever read. Not because it tells you something complicated, but because it tells you something so simple that it completely changes how you see yourself, other people, and every single moment of your life. By the end of this video, you are going to understand why you feel stuck, why nothing ever feels like enough, why the same problems keep coming back no matter what you do, and most importantly, what to actually do about it. Stay with me, because this one is deep. Let's start right at the beginning, with something that's happening inside you right now. There is a voice in your head. You know the one. It never stops talking. It comments on everything. It worries, it judges. It replays old conversations. It imagines future disasters. While you're trying to fall asleep, it's having a full debate with someone who isn't even in the room. While you're in the shower, it's already planning tomorrow and replaying yesterday at the same time. Singer opens the book with this exact observation. He says, in case you haven't noticed, you have a mental dialogue going on inside your head that never stops. It just keeps going and going. And here is the first thing that will hit you like a truck when you really think about it. If you can hear the voice talking, then who exactly is doing the hearing? Think about that for a second. Really think about it. The voice says something. You notice it said something. So there's the voice. And then there's you, the one listening to the voice. Those are two completely different things. Singer says that most people have never stopped to notice this distinction, and that noticing it for the first time is one of the most profound moments a human being can have. He calls the one doing the listening the witness. The witness is you, the pure awareness, the part that just watches everything unfold. And the voice? The voice is just a roommate. A very loud, very chaotic, very unreliable roommate who has been living inside your head rent-free your entire life. He actually asks you to try a little experiment. Imagine that voice had a body. Imagine it was a real physical person sitting next to you on your couch. Now let it say out loud everything it says to you inside your head. All of it. The worrying, the second-guessing, the criticism, the replaying of things that already happened, the obsessing over things that haven't happened yet. How long would you put up with that person? A day? An hour? Singer says you wouldn't last even one afternoon. You would tell that person to leave and never come back. But here's the thing. When that same voice talks inside your head, you don't just let it stay. You give it your full attention. You go to it for advice. You believe everything it tells you about yourself and about other people. You let it run your entire life from the inside out. And most of the time, that voice is completely wrong. Think about a time when it told you something terrible was about to happen. Your heart was pounding, the stories were spinning in circles, and then nothing happened, or it went completely the opposite direction from what the voice predicted. Singer uses this example. The voice tells you for half an hour that your girlfriend doesn't care about you anymore, that she's probably about to break up with you, that you shouldn't even answer the phone if she calls. And then she calls. And she was just planning a surprise dinner for your anniversary. The voice was completely, totally wrong. And yet 5 minutes later, you're back to listening to it like nothing happened. Why do we do that? Because we never learned that we are not that voice. We think we are the voice. We think those thoughts are us. When the voice says, "I'm not good enough," we believe it because it seems to be coming from inside us. When it says, this isn't going to work out. We feel like that's our own assessment of the situation, our own instinct. But it's not. It's just the voice. And the voice is often wrong, reactive, fearful, and completely distorted by old experiences that have nothing to do with the present moment. Singer's whole message in the first part of this book comes down to this one idea: you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices your thoughts. There is a massive, life-changing difference between those two things. When you truly get that, when it actually clicks, something shifts. Because now, instead of getting dragged around by every thought and emotion that passes through your mind, you can sit back and just watch. You become what Singer calls the witness, the lucid self, the one who is always there, always watching, no matter what is happening on the screen of your mind. He compares it to a lucid dream. In a normal dream, you're just inside it. You think it's real, you feel every emotion, you're completely lost in it. But in a lucid dream, you know you're dreaming. You can observe what's happening. You can fly, you can change things. You're not trapped by the storyline, you're not controlled by the dream anymore. Singer is saying you can learn to live your whole life that way. Always aware that you are the one watching the show, not the show itself. So who are you really? Singer spends a whole chapter on this question, and it's one of the most powerful parts of the entire book. He says, imagine someone walks up to you and asks, "Who are you?" You say your name, but he points out that's just letters arranged in a particular order. A label assigned to you before you could even speak. It's not you. So you say where you were born, who your parents are, what you've done with your life. But he pushes back again. Those are just things that happened to you. Events you were present for. Who was in there having all those experiences? You go through different ages, different bodies. You were 4 feet tall once, now you're not. Different beliefs. Things you were absolutely certain about at 20, you probably laugh at now. Different relationships, different jobs, different versions of yourself almost. And yet through all of it, there has always been something in there watching. Something continuous. Something that was there when you were a child, and still there now, that continuity, that unbroken awareness that has been present from your earliest memory until this exact moment. That is the real you. Singer says consciousness is the highest word you will ever utter. You are not your body, because you look at your body from somewhere inside it. You are not your emotions, because you feel them passing through you like weather passing through a sky. You are not your thoughts, because you can watch your thoughts the way you watch clouds move. You are the sky. You are the awareness itself, the one who sees, the one who is always home, no matter what is going on in the house. This is your true home, and the great tragedy of most human lives is that we spend everything we have trying to fix the furniture and the lighting inside a dark house when we've never even realized we could just step outside into the open air. He also goes into this fascinating idea of how consciousness can focus on different things. Your awareness is always there, but it can zoom in so tight on one thought or one emotion that it completely loses sight of the bigger picture. Like getting so absorbed in a movie that you forget you're sitting in a dark theater. Singer says this is what happens to most of us in life. Our consciousness gets so absorbed in the inner show of thoughts and emotions that we lose awareness of the one who is watching. We forget we're in the theater. We forget there's a bigger self that is none of this. And that forgetting is the source of almost all human suffering. Singer expands this with one of the most memorable images in the book. He imagines a future movie technology that doesn't just engage your sight and hearing, but all 5 senses. And eventually, your thoughts and emotions too. If you watched a movie that could hijack not just what you see and hear, but also what you think and feel, you would be completely lost inside it. There would be no independent you left to decide you want to leave. Everything would be the movie. That, he says, is essentially what's been happening in your life. The inner show of thoughts, emotions, and sensory experience is so all-consuming and so synchronized that your consciousness gets completely absorbed in it. You stop being the one watching the show and become fully identified with it. You think the movie is you. And the way out is not to fight the movie. The way out is to remember that you are the one in the theater. You are the one who was there before the movie started. And you will be there after it ends. All you have to do is remember. And keep remembering. That simple, revolutionary, liberating fact. Now here's where the book gets even more interesting. And more personal. Because Singer doesn't just tell you what you are. He tells you why you feel the way you feel. And he explains energy in a way that makes complete, practical sense. He says every single one of us has an enormous amount of energy available inside. It doesn't come from food. It doesn't come from sleep. It's something deeper. Something that the ancient Chinese called qi, that the yogic tradition calls shakti, that the Western world loosely calls spirit, and you felt it. You felt it on those days when you're so excited about something that you forget to eat. You felt it when you fall in love, and suddenly you have more energy than you know what to do with. You felt it when you're inspired, and you can work for hours and not feel drained at all. Singer gives this example that I think everyone will recognize. Imagine you've been heartbroken for 3 months. You can barely get out of bed. You have no energy, no appetite, no interest in anything. Your apartment is a mess. You're sleeping too much and eating pizza boxes off the floor. Your friends can't get you out of the house. You have nothing. And then the phone rings. It's the girlfriend who broke up with you. She's crying and saying she made the biggest mistake of her life. She wants you back. She's coming over. How fast do you get out of bed? How fast do you clean the apartment, take a shower, get some color back in your face? Singer says it's practically instantaneous. In a matter of seconds, you have energy. Where did it come from? Nothing physical changed. You didn't eat or sleep differently, but the energy is back, rushing through you. He says the only reason you ever don't have that energy is because you're blocking it. You're blocking it by closing your heart. By holding old pain, old fear, old resentment in there so tight that the energy can't move. When your heart is open, the energy flows. When it's closed, it doesn't. And the heart opens and closes constantly, usually based not on what's happening right now, but on things that happened to you a long, long time ago. Here's how he explains the mechanics of this, and this is the part that will stay with you. When something happens to you, something painful, something frightening, something you can't fully process. In the moment, the energy from that experience doesn't just disappear when the moment passes. If you resist it, if you push it down, if you can't or won't let yourself fully feel it, it gets stored, not metaphorically, actually stored inside you, in the energetic structure of your heart. In the yogic tradition, these stored energy patterns are called samskaras, a Sanskrit word that means impression. Think of them like little frozen packets of old emotion packed into your heart, one by one, over the course of your entire life. And here's the part that will make you rethink your whole history. Those samskaras are still in there. Everything you couldn't fully process from the time you were a baby until this exact moment is stored inside you, and it gets reactivated. Years later, something completely random and seemingly unrelated triggers it, and suddenly you're feeling emotions that seem way too big for the situation. You snap at your partner over something minor. You spiral into anxiety over a text that went unanswered. You feel a weird darkness when you hear a particular song, or smell a certain scent, or drive past a place you once lived. Singer uses this beautiful example of a light blue Mustang. Let's say years ago you were driving and you saw a light blue Mustang with two people hugging inside it, and for a moment you thought it might be your girlfriend with someone else. It shook you. You felt that spike of jealousy and dread. And then you never brought it up. Just pushed it all the way down. Fast forward 5 years. You're with someone new now. You're driving with your family on a sunny afternoon. And a light blue Mustang drives past. Your heart drops. Your mood shifts. A tension arrives in your chest that you can't explain. Your afternoon is completely different now. That's a samskara waking up. A frozen piece of the past that was never fully released. And the key insight Singer builds from this is, we spend our entire lives either trying to avoid activating these stored blockages or desperately protecting them from being disturbed. We reorganize our whole existence around not touching the wound. This is why life can feel like you're always managing something, always one small trigger away from a much bigger reaction than the moment calls for. Because underneath the surface, you are literally carrying decades of unfinished emotional energy. The only real solution is to let the blocked energy come up and pass through you. Not to fix it or analyze it endlessly, not to push it back down harder. Just let it rise when it rises, stay present with it, keep your heart open, and let it pass. Singer is emphatic. Every single time you relax and let a samskara move through you instead of resisting it, a piece of it leaves forever. And on the other side of all that stored pain, pure, open, flowing energy. Love without reason, joy without cause. And Singer makes a point here about both kinds of samskaras. Because it's not just painful experiences that get stuck. Good ones can too. If something wonderful happens and you cling to it. If you keep replaying it. If you refuse to let it just be a beautiful moment that has passed. You store that as well. The heart gets blocked by clinging just as much as by resisting. You're either pushing life away because it hurts, or holding on to it because it felt good. Either way, you're not letting life flow freely through you. You're damming it up. And a dammed up river doesn't stay clean for long. The alternative is to truly enjoy experiences as they happen, without gripping them, and to let the difficult experiences pass through without resistance. When you can do that, every moment becomes its own complete thing. You're fully present in it, fully alive to it, and then fully ready for the next one. That is what Singer means when he talks about living in the now. Not a catchphrase, an actual energetic state in which nothing is being stored, nothing is being resisted, and life flows through you the way water flows down a clear stream. Now we get into what I think is the absolute heart of this book. Singer calls it the inner thorn, and it might be the most useful thing I've ever read about why human beings suffer the way we do. He says, imagine you have a thorn in your arm, right up against a nerve. When anything touches it, it's agony. It affects everything. You can't sleep comfortably. You can't hug people freely. You can't walk through the woods. You can't go anywhere without thinking about whether something might brush against it. You have two choices. You can spend your life building an elaborate, ever-expanding protective device to make sure nothing ever touches the thorn. Or you can just take the thorn out. Sounds obvious when he puts it like that, right? But Singer then walks you through, in painful, recognizable detail, how this is exactly what human beings do with their inner pain. You feel a deep loneliness, so you don't deal with the loneliness at the root. Instead, you go find someone to fill the gap. And now your whole relationship is built on top of that loneliness, not genuine connection. You're not there because you truly love this person in a free and open way. You're there because they quiet something inside you that you've never been willing to face. and the moment they stop quieting it, the moment the relationship goes through any kind of difficulty, that original loneliness resurfaces, and suddenly the relationship feels impossible. You feel rejection as a core fear, something that was probably seeded in you young. So instead of dealing with that fear at its source, you spend every single day trying to be impressive enough, agreeable enough, useful enough, entertaining enough, that nobody ever rejects you. And now you're exhausted and resentful and performing constantly, and you don't even understand why everything feels so effortful. Singer traces how these layers build, and it's worth following closely because you will see your own life in it. At the core is the pain. Let's say fear of rejection. Then, to avoid feeling that rejection, you start working hard to maintain friendships, to make people like you, to be someone people want around. That's one layer out from the core. Then, to ensure people keep accepting you, you work on how you present yourself, what you wear, how you talk, what you drive, how you act in public. That's another layer. Then, to maintain that image, you start resisting anything that threatens it. Someone comments on your car and you feel a sting in your chest. Not because of the car, because the car was connected to the presentation, which was connected to wanting acceptance, which was connected to the deep fear of rejection, which was connected to old pain you never dealt with. Every layer is linked back to the original wound. And now simple, everyday interactions can set you off in ways that seem completely disproportionate. The real solution is to stop touching the wound protectively and start removing it instead. You do that by letting go. Right now, when something activates the old pain, when someone says something that stings, when a situation triggers that old familiar fear, instead of defending yourself, withdrawing, or trying to fix the outside world to make it stop, you stay present, you relax, you keep your heart open. You let the energy rise and pass through. You don't feed it with your attention and you don't push it back down. You just let it move. Singer describes this as a clear physical decision point. You feel your heart start to tighten. You feel the familiar pull toward defensiveness or retreat. And that tightening is your cue. Not to close, but to consciously choose to relax. Not to protect, but to release. The moment you catch it early and relax instead of tightening is the moment growth happens. The moment you go past where you've always stopped before. He also describes what happens when you don't let go, and he calls it the fall. When a blockage gets hit and you don't release it, the disturbed energy acts like a magnet. It pulls your entire consciousness down into it. And now you're not sitting in the seat of the witness anymore. You're in the mud. From that place, everything looks different. People you normally like seem irritating or threatening. Life that was fine an hour ago seems dark and hopeless. The mind starts telling you that you need to make drastic changes. Quit your job, end your relationship, confront someone, say something you can't take back. Singer says this is the anatomy of a fall, and if you act from that fallen state, if you start yelling or sending messages you'll regret, or making big decisions, you've now taken that disturbed energy and externalized it. You've painted it onto the world around you, and it will come back. It always does. Other people's hearts and minds get involved, their egos get involved, and now you have even more forces keeping you down. The way back is always to just let go. Even if you fell 5 minutes ago, let go now. Even if you've been down for a year, let go now. Singer says you don't have to make it a big deal. You don't have to analyze how you fell or punish yourself for it. You just let go at the first moment you realize you can, and you begin again. Every moment is a new moment to try. That's the grace built into this path. There is no point of no return. There is only the next decision to relax and release. Singer says something about pain that is almost radical in its honesty. He says coming to peace with pain is one of the essential requirements for true spiritual growth. Not just tolerating pain, not just gritting your teeth through it, actually making peace with the fact that pain is going to happen, that it is part of what it means to be alive, that trying to avoid it is like trying to stop the rain. He talks about how deep in the core of the heart there is a layer of pain that most people have been sitting on their entire lives. This pain is so uncomfortable that the entire personality, every habit, every preference, every behavior pattern is built around not feeling it. Singer says the psyche itself is built on the foundation of fear of pain. But here's what happens when you avoid something your whole life. You don't make it go away. You just make yourself smaller and smaller. You make your world smaller and smaller. You cut off more and more of life in an ever-tightening circle just to make sure the pain stays untouched. You stop doing certain things because they remind you of it. You stop being vulnerable with people because vulnerability might lead there. You start living a life not of choices, but of avoidances. And slowly, you stop even recognizing that's what you're doing, because it becomes the water you swim in. The path forward is not to try to stop feeling pain. It's to stop being afraid of it, to recognize it for what it is. Just energy moving through you. Just a temporary experience passing across the screen of your awareness. Singer says when you actually let the pain come up and pass through instead of closing around it, it doesn't stick. It moves. It releases. He says you might feel heat in your heart as it burns through. He calls this the fire of yoga. It doesn't feel good in the moment, but every time it happens, you become measurably more free. This is the great promise at the center of this book. On the other side of pain is ecstasy. On the other side is freedom. Your true greatness. The version of you that is open and alive and unlimited is hiding on the other side of that layer of pain, and the only way to it is through. Pain is the price of freedom, and the moment you're truly willing to pay it. The moment you stop flinching away from your own inner experience. Nothing in this world can hold you anymore. Singer then takes you into the structures we build inside our minds, and this part of the book hits differently. He uses this allegory of a house. Imagine you find yourself in the middle of an open field filled with brilliant natural light. You decide to build a house there, but you make the walls out of thick concrete. You put up heavy shutters, you lock everything down tightly, and slowly, gradually, you forget the sunlight is even out there. You spend all your energy trying to create little bits of artificial light inside your dark house. Candles, flashlights, whatever you can find, and you call that living. You decorate the walls with memories and dreams. You find a housemate and tell yourself this is enough, this is home. He says that house is your psyche. The walls are literally made of your thoughts, your beliefs, your opinions, your memories, your self-concept, your fears about what might happen if you ever went outside. You've pulled all of that material around yourself and sealed yourself in. And the outside world, the real world, the world of genuine aliveness and genuine experience. It goes on, full of light, just on the other side of the walls you built to protect yourself. He also introduces the image of a cage, specifically how your comfort zone functions as a cage. You've been conditioned, like a dog trained by an invisible electric fence, to stop when you approach your psychological limits, when you try to be more honest than usual, or more open, or more vulnerable, or more present. You feel a spike of discomfort, fear, or self-consciousness, and you pull back. Every time you pull back, the cage gets a little more solid. The world inside gets a little darker. But Singer says something crucial here. You cannot actually be hurt by going beyond your psychological limits. The discomfort at the edge is not real danger. It's just the fence. And the world on the other side of that fence is vast and free and full of the kind of genuine aliveness that you simply cannot manufacture inside the cage, no matter how beautifully you decorate it. Singer says spirituality is the commitment to go beyond, no matter what it takes. Not a once-in-a-while spiritual retreat. Every moment, every day. Every time you hit an edge, instead of pulling back, you lean into it. You relax through it. You let the discomfort of going beyond pass through you, just like everything else passes through. In the final part of the book, Singer brings everything down to earth with a question so simple, it feels almost like a trick. He says there is really only one meaningful choice you have in this life. Not what career to build, not who to love, not what to believe. Just this one choice, made fresh in every single moment. Do you want to be happy or not? He means it completely. He's not asking, do you want to be happy when things go your way? Everyone answers yes to that. He's asking if you're willing to be happy unconditionally, regardless of what happens, regardless of loss, disappointment, conflict, or grief. Most people put conditions on their happiness without even realizing it. The moment you put a condition on it, you've handed the power to something outside yourself. And life will always find a way to violate the condition. The path he's pointing to, unconditional happiness, is simply this. Whenever you feel your heart starting to close, you notice it, and you choose not to close. You relax your shoulders. You soften your heart. You stay open. That is the entire practice. It's not about faking positivity. It's not about pretending difficult things aren't difficult. It's about recognizing that the energy of love and joy and aliveness is always available inside you, and that the only thing ever blocking it is your own tendency to tighten and protect. Singer says, when you truly commit to this path, when you really mean it, every day, in every situation, it becomes the most powerful spiritual practice there is. More transformative than any ritual or technique, because every challenging moment becomes a test, and every test is an opportunity to choose openness over fear. The cleansing of the heart happens not in a monastery, but right in the middle of your daily life, in traffic, in difficult conversations, in disappointment, in grief. That is where the real work is done. He also talks about the spiritual path of non-resistance, which connects directly to this. He points out that stress only happens when you resist life's events. If you're neither pushing life away nor pulling it toward you, if you're simply present with what's happening, there is no stress. There is just experience unfolding. He says, think about how much of your energy right now is being used to resist things that have already happened. Replaying old conversations, arguing in your head with people who aren't there, resenting decisions that were made months or years ago. None of that resistance changes what happened. It just keeps you locked in it, using your precious energy to fight a battle that's already over. And how much energy goes into resisting things that haven't happened yet? Things that might never happen? The imagined disasters, the worst-case scenarios, the carefully constructed mental models of how someone might betray you or how something might go wrong. All of that is energy going nowhere useful. Singer says, when you stop wasting your will on resisting both the past and the imagined future. An enormous amount of energy becomes available to you. Energy to be fully present in the actual moments of your actual life. This is the path of non-resistance, not passivity. Singer is very clear that you still deal with things, you still take action, you still make decisions, but you do it after allowing the event to move through you freely, rather than from a place of reactive blockage. When you respond from clarity, instead of from accumulated resistance, you are exponentially more effective and infinitely more at peace. Singer also talks about death in a way that will shake something loose in you. He says death is the greatest teacher in all of life. Not because it's something to fear, but because it clarifies everything instantly. Think about what happens when people find out they have a short time left. They stop caring about small stuff. They stop holding grudges that have been running for years. They look at the people they love, and they actually see them for the first time in a long time. They stop planning the future and start living the present. They stop performing and start being real. Singer asks a question worth sitting with. If you would live your last week so fully, so presently, so lovingly, then what are you doing with all the rest of your time? He says a truly awakened person wouldn't change a single thing if they were told they had a week left, because they are already living exactly as they want to live. They are already fully present, fully open, fully grateful. There is nothing to clean up, nothing to apologize for, nothing left unsaid. Death would have nothing to take because they are already giving everything they have to every moment they are in. And you are already that close. Right now, every time you get in a car, every time you cross a street, every time you go to sleep, the last moment is always one breath away. Singer says this is not meant to paralyze you with fear. It's meant to wake you up to the beauty of right now, to the preciousness of this afternoon, this conversation, this person in front of you. Death is not there to take something from you. It's there to remind you that scarcity makes things precious. It's what makes a simple moment of watching sunlight come through a window feel like something worth everything. And at the very end, Singer takes you somewhere quietly extraordinary. He talks about what happens when you truly let go, when the walls finally come down, when the stored pain releases, when the voice in your head becomes something you observe with curiosity instead of something you are completely lost in. What do you find underneath all of it? He says you start to feel love. Not romantic love, not love because something nice happened, just love. As a backdrop, as a default state. The things you used to judge, you begin to appreciate. The things that used to disturb you, you begin to observe with a kind of gentle curiosity. You feel more spacious inside, more genuinely alive. Singer says the first signs of real spiritual growth are not mystical experiences. They're ordinary things. You feel less anger, less fear, less self-consciousness. Things that used to set you off can't quite reach you anymore. That is the drift upward. He says every tradition has pointed toward this. The Hindus called it Atman, merging into Paramatman. The Christians called it oneness with God. The Buddhists pointed toward nirvana. The Taoists described moving in the way. The mystic poets of every culture wrote about it in their own language. They were all describing the same experience. What happens when the individual consciousness stops clinging, stops protecting, stops building walls, and finally opens all the way into something vast and quiet and unconditionally loving. Singer says God is not a judge waiting to catch you doing something wrong. God is ecstasy. God is the overflowing love of a parent for a child. A love so complete, it sees only beauty, even in imperfection. And the closer you get to your own true center, the deeper you go past the noise and the fear and the walls, the more you begin to feel something that genuinely resembles that. You begin to look at the world differently. You begin to look at people differently. Singer says these are the eyes of love, and love sees nothing but beauty in everything it touches. So here's where we land. The Untethered Soul doesn't give you a system or a morning routine or a productivity framework. It does something far more radical. It shows you the exact structure of your own suffering, and it shows you, with total clarity, exactly how to step out of it. The core of everything Singer says is this: you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your past. You are not the voice in your head. You are the witness, the pure awareness that has been sitting at the center of your experience since the day you were born. That witness never changes. It never gets hurt. It is always, always there. Steady, clear, and free. No matter how loud things get inside. And from the seat of that witness, you have one job: stay open. When the energy rises, whether it's pain or fear or old hurt or new embarrassment, don't push it down and don't run from it. Stay present. Relax your heart. Let it pass through. Every single time you do that, you become a little more free. He says unconditional happiness is the highest spiritual path. Not retreats or rituals, just deciding. Every day, every moment, no matter what happens, to stay open. To refuse to let life's events be reasons to close your heart. To keep choosing the light instead of the shutters. This is not easy. Singer never pretends it is. You will fall. You will get pulled into your wounds. You will close and protect and justify and blame. And then, if you remember, you will notice what happened. You will climb back into the witness seat. You will relax. You will release. And you will try again. That is the journey. It doesn't end. But the further you go, the lighter everything gets. The more love you feel. Not because your life has become perfect, but because you have stopped requiring it to be. If you've ever felt like something is always slightly off inside, even when the outside looks fine, this book is for you. If you've ever had a moment of total peace and presence, and then lost it and wanted it back, this book is for you. The Untethered Soul is just you. When you stop holding everything so tight, when you let the walls come down, when you stop being afraid of your own experience, that is who you are underneath all of it. And it has been there, the whole time, waiting. Right now, not after you've fixed yourself, not after your life gets easier. Right now, in this exact moment, underneath all the noise, you are already free.